Hey there, my friends. Dan Deegan here. Let's talk about how content is the catalyst to your image, credibility, and brand being enhanced. All right, my friends, before we get going, remember, subscribe, click all the buttons and all the bells and whistles that are going on around here. Subscribe, let us know, click that bell icon, and you'll be notified when we release new videos, because that's what it's all about, y'all. Release new videos, get new content into your hands, like what we're going to talk about today. Today, I want to discuss content. You know, if you're not putting out content right now, you're missing a real opportunity. And I'm talking about strategic content. I'm not just talking about, a fluffy cat running down the road that's so cute that you think you're going to go viral. I'm talking about specific content. In the world of logistics sales, everybody these days wants a pro. They want to deal with the best of the best. What do the best do? The best talk about their business. They share insights into the business. They share insights into strategies, into perspectives, into everything. And there's no better place to do this than creating content, because content kind of acts on like 2 or 3 different levels, right? So one, your peers in the market start seeing your name over and over again. 2, if prospects Google you, a lot of the time, LinkedIn is the first one that comes up when they Google. So there's your content right there. 3, LinkedIn is starting to act as a resume to a lot of your prospects. And what do we mean by that? Well, a lot of the times, because of the way LinkedIn is really rising, these YouTube videos that you watch, this content adds to your image and credibility. So if you record a video like what I'm doing right now, and you throw it on LinkedIn and you throw it on YouTube and you talk about a specific strategy or something that you read and what your ideas and strategies are on it or your perspective on it, that is content that people actually want to read, because it shares them, it kind of brings them into your world and gives them that perspective that they may not be seeing. Let me share it with you this way, okay? So if you are, for example, if you're a video person, right? So there's 2 platforms that I would say I'm going to stay away from the Instagrams and Facebooks from a business perspective. I'm going to say LinkedIn and YouTube, right? And the reason I say YouTube, some people might be like, whoa, you really YouTube? You might probably want to do LinkedIn, is because the characters that you're allowed, you can actually write out your perspective under the video, and that gets marked in like by spiders, and it gets kind of SEO'd as well. And then LinkedIn, also with both of these, LinkedIn, you can put in the video, right? You can add a video, plus in the section column, you can add more text about what it is. You can tag people, and then the conversation goes back and forth. Now, here's the beautiful thing about both of these platforms. Every single piece of content you create has a URL. So think of it like this. What if you read an article from, say, Forbes magazine, and you read the article, you put the URL of the article, you have that URL, and you talk about what the article means to you, to your relationships inside the logistics world, right? Inside the sales, inside the logistics, inside the supply chain world. Maybe you share a story or 2 from other customers. Maybe you share some testimonials from other customers about how relationships have a positive impact on our customers and on their freight costs, hypothetically, okay? Now, that URL you keep. So every single post I've put out, every single YouTube video, I have a URL in what I call my URL bank. And what I use that for is if I'm on a conversation with a customer, and we have a conversation about how, relationships are the number 1 pillar in today's market, what I'll do is I'll use my follow-up strategies, and I'll send them that post. I could have done that post 4 months ago. I could have done it 6 months ago. You know what? Hey, Mr. Customer, our conversation today reminded me of X, Y, and Z. I posted this 5 months ago. I thought you'd really love it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Now, twofold. 1, customer might leave a comment on the actual post, reviving that post, or they may come back and say, you know what? I love your perspective on that. See, you've talked about it before you've spoken to that customer. So what you've done is you've actually created that credibility in advance, and the customer can't ever say, oh, you're just saying that because, we just talked about relationships. So think about this for a second. When we look at our world of logistics, right? So we have, if we're going to look at, say, topics, right? So we have cost increases, right? We've got relationships, right? We've got things like capacity, right? We've got things like dedication, right? We've got things like, so here's one that I face all the time: horrible salespeople, right? So think of this for a second. Just those 5 topics, just those 5. You can probably branch cost increases if you look at this. And if you just take these 5, and this is what I suggest, is you take kind of your top 5 topics that you want to talk about. If you want to talk about cost increases, you can talk about truckload, you can talk about LTL, you can talk about ocean, you can talk about air, you can talk about inflation, right? You can talk about groceries, right? You can talk about gas. Like, you think of all of these topics that just flow under cost increases. Relationships, you can talk about, long term. You can talk about meeting people once and like becoming best friends kind of thing, right? You can talk about client profiles, right? So, I mean, if you start looking at this, oh my gosh, capacity. You can talk about a million different things when it comes to capacity. Dedication, you can talk about a million different things, okay? High, lows of dedication, how dedication works, what are the ins, what are the outs, horrible salespeople, what are some of the people you called, what are some of those people that just called you about, duct cleaning or installing new windows or any of those things. These are all topics we could talk about every single day, all day long. And not only that, if you put 2-3 posts out a day just for this, at the end of the week, you're going to have dozens of different strategies to go. Even if you put a post out a week, every week, at the end of the month, you're going to have 4 different key pillars to send a customer. So maybe you decide, you know what, Dan, I'm going to go with 4 topics, and I'm going to choose those 4 topics. I'm going to do 1 a week, every week. Within 3 months, you've got 12 different topics, or 12 different conversations on 4 different topics that you love talking about. Now, you talk to a customer, you're like, hey, 2 months ago, I posted on that. I'm going to share this with you. What do you think of this? And you see, now what's happening is you're not just a salesperson. You're somebody that shares your strategy, shares your beliefs, shares your perspective with the market. And if you're a video person, do it on 2 platforms. If you're a written person, share it on LinkedIn. Like, written will get you just as far when it comes to an image, credibility, and brand perspective, right? If you're going to do LinkedIn, I suggest you tag a couple of people so there's a little bit of a conversation going on. But the main thing is that you have the content. Content, when you look at it in this perspective, is everything. Here's the thing. When you share content, it shows you're not just a salesperson. You're a human being with a voice that has an opinion, that has a perspective. Now, some people aren't always going to agree with your perspective. You can't, please everyone. But the fact is, you have a perspective, and that perspective is super important because that perspective is what connects you, what makes you congruent with the people you're going to serve. And that comes from content. Again, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this. It was a very quick one today. I didn't want to get too deep. Pick 4 to 5 topics and create content every week on those 4 to 5 topics. Keep your URLs for that content and do yourself a favor. Fire up like a Word document, maybe an Evernote document, or whatever your word processor is. Put the URL in and write a blurb right when you create it, because that's when you're most creative, is when you create it. Write a blurb and then save it. And then the next time you do it, write a blurb and then save it. Next time you do it, write a blurb and save it. And what's going to happen is, before you know it, you're going to have pages of content with blurbs that once you finish a conversation, when you're going into your follow-up, between follow-up, when you're going to reply to an email, when you want to reconnect, or when you want to reestablish, or when you want to have a more in-depth conversation, copy and paste that block. URL and everything. Say, I wrote this X time ago. I thought it was really awesome. I really love your opinion on it, and send it. Now, all of a sudden, you're not just a salesperson, right? You're more. That's what everybody wants. Nobody wants to deal with a salesperson. They want to deal with somebody that's more. Until next time, my friends, remember, go out there, make every call educational, crush your sales, and you're only one applied idea away from everything you've ever wanted in life. Take care.